Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another live stream with myself and John the White. We'll go straight into it, I think, because we've got a lot to cover in these next 2 hours. So, welcome, John, and shall we start immediately?
Oh, hello, Gobby. Hello, everybody. Yes, we will indeed start immediately. And the first thing is the reason why we are gathered here today is that, as promised, the second article covering Guardian allegations against Noel Clarke was released yesterday,
Indeed.
which is Noel Clarke's adventures in cancellation from time and space.
Great title.
So what we're going to be looking at today is all the Guardian's allegations to do with the world of Doctor Who, which, when we wrote the original article, I kept this out of it, intended to cover it separately, because it did get a bit rabbit holey with it all being about John Barrowman as well. But as it
Yeah.
turned out, that was a remarkably wise decision, because in the month since the original Can There Be Justice for Noel Clarke article was released, people had started to talk to me. And
Yes,
I want to make
indeed.
this absolutely clear once again to make sure that nobody, and I mean nobody, supporters included, gets the wrong impression. I am not in contact with Noel Clarke.
Indeed.
Everything that I've done, everything that I've written with these articles is my own investigative work, supported by a very small team of friends and colleagues in my Twitter community. So we did this. It's got nothing to do with Noel. We don't speak to Noel. We don't speak for Noel. And
Yep.
Justice for Noel C, which is now the Twitter account to follow for everything to do with getting justice for Noel Clarke, is an entirely fan-run page.
Absolutely.
So if you got to get that out there, because I know, I don't want people to Chinese whisper this. I don't want people to assume that I've got some kind of access that I don't. If I have an inside access, I will tell you, but it definitely doesn't come. I have had an inside source come to me since the previous article, but they are also nothing to do with Noel Clarke. This is to do with people who are quite cross about what was said against Noel from inside the Doctor Who convention world. So we will come to all of that. Now, first things first, I mean, what did you make of a new article, Gobby? Let's get your impressions before we start digging in.
Well, well, as I said, I think that when you read it again, the second article, it literally completely rubbishes the Guardian article. It literally shows it for what it is, which is a very rushed piece of writing, if you can use that. It's destroyed. It's a non-entity. As I said before, it's got more holes than Swiss cheese, this article. And when you read your new article, it just what was left has just been evaporated, and it's blatantly obvious to people who are prepared, and of course prepared to listen and read what's happening, that what they did was just
I have to completely agree with you. Of course, I have to completely agree with
of
you.
course you do.
Good afternoon, Noel.
Hello, Noel.
Because when I read the first article, it was much more difficult to deconstruct and much more challenging to investigate, frankly.
Yes,
Because
indeed.
what's in this one is so weak. It's so badly substantiated. In fact, the Guardian makes no attempt to stand any of it up. There's
None.
no additional questions. There's none of the additional information. There's just no attempt to give these stories anything else than face value credibility. Which, do they have face value credibility?
Well, exactly.
That's what we found out. So it's like if you had a kind of, maybe especially the way the first one was written, and it was such a deluge of accusations, and the language was quite sneaky in how it's written as well, so it was quite misleading in places, and maybe somebody read that and they thought, okay, we've got these 20 accusations. But for the Doctor Who world, when we look at actually what's been said about Noel Clarke's time on Doctor Who and accusations coming from Doctor Who, it really is. It's just pathetic. It's like the scales fall off your eyes open, you just see it for what it is, a load of gossipy rubbish. So let's get on with proving that. Now, yes, this Guardian's follow-up article came out on the 5th of May last year, Friday the 5th of May.
Yeah.
So this was 8 days after the original article.
Yeah.
As a result, it also brings in the stuff which had come up in those 8 days. So
Yeah.
one of the things that makes this a little bit more complicated, not the allegations themselves, but the fact that this all gets tied up with John Barrowman.
Yes, it
And
does.
the
Yes.
Barrowman video.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about John Barrowman as part of running through this live stream tonight. First, I'm going to talk about what these new accusations are. Then I also want to talk about the BBC's response to this, because that's also incredibly telling.
Oh, it certainly is.
Very,
It certainly
very
is.
telling.
Very.
And then we will get to the last accuser, which I'll deal separately, which is the fan-based accuser from inside the convention world, a woman called Lisa Graham, and that's where we'll also be talking about the information my inside source brought forward, and then we'll see, we'll see how we're doing after that.
See how it goes. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So we've got some talking about John Barrowman to come up in a little bit. So, of course, the other thing I made a point of pointing out again is Noel Clarke's video that he went to the police with a right of access request under the Freedom of Information Act, that he got his jacket from the police, his complete file from birth, and that nobody, let's make this clear and repeat this, nobody ever made a report to police about Noel Clarke, ever.
Never,
no
ever.
matter what the media has claimed.
Exactly. Nothing. Not a thing.
And what's really telling now is that, well, of course, this video from Noel came out just a couple of days before the first article hit. So that's over a month now that video has been online, and there has been no attempt to refute it. There has been no attempt to fact check it. There have been no protests from anyone who ever claimed that it might have even just thought about going to the police about it. No one's complained. This isn't true. I went to police.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Nothing.
So on that basis, because there is no challenge against this video, and of course, the Justice for Noel Clarke account has consistently asked media to fact check this video since we started up in that time frame, and I linked one of those into the article as well, so you can all go see for yourself. And yes, give it a retweet because it needs some welly. We're not going to let these people get away with this. But because Noel had that information from police, had it verified by 4 detectives, and there's been zero attempt to debunk it, I'm taking it as fact.
Yes.
The one thing in this article which wasn't part of the first one is I'm not even going to try to see if there's any credibility to any idea that these women went to police with their accusations. We're just going to straight out say they didn't go.
They didn't go.
There's no evidence that they went. And as far as these allegations go, there's no sign of a Guardian even hinting anyone's going to go to police anyway. So nothing about this was about police.
No.
It was brought out after the Guardian journalists had achieved their aim of getting Noel Clarke cancelled by BAFTA. So it's a very low effort, tacked on at the end article, which just shows, I think when this unravels, and it does, it really challenges the first article as well.
Yeah.
Because once you've unraveled one of these accusers, all the rest of them become suspect.
Yeah, this is true. They just fall apart. It just falls
apart. Especially if they're anonymous accusers.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So what actually did they say? Well, there are 5 new accusations.
Yep.
There are two from women using their own legal names. These would be named accusers. 2 new named accusers. There's Joanne Hayes, who was a costume assistant on Doctor Who Series 1.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Lisa Graham, who is a worker at Doctor Who conventions.
Yep.
There are then 2 women making accusations just under pseudonyms, which is Jenna and Monica.
Mm-hmm.
And as well as making accusations against Noel, Jenna and Monica also confirm what's been said about John Barrowman. So they have a double role in this.
So there's a double thing,
And then the final one is a woman only referred to as anonymous Doctor Who actor.
Well, yeah. Great.
So that's 5. We've got 5 new accusations to deal with. 4 of them are from within the world of Doctor Who production. One of them, Lisa Graham, is from the Doctor Who convention world.
Right. Yeah.
So I'll deal with the same as I did in the article. We'll look at the 4 accusers from inside the Doctor Who production first, and we'll deal with Lisa Graham
Afterwards.
separately.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So let's have a look at this. So Joanne Hayes, as I said, she was costume assistant on Doctor Who Series 1. She alleges that Noel told her in August 2004 that he liked girls with long hair as it gave him something to hold on to when doing them from behind.
Right.
Bit of a cowboy image there, but
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yeah. Fair enough.
But he said this to her when she was assisting him with his costume in his trailer.
Right.
She then says that this upset her, and she left the trailer at that point, and Noel mocked her as she walked out.
Right. Okay.
So Hayes is then quoted saying that she didn't report the incident to her bosses because at that time the culture was very different. However, the experience left her feeling uneasy near Noel Clarke, and she avoided him as best she could.
But let's be honest, was the culture any different then? Because I don't think it would be, really, if you went and complained, because that's wrong no matter what year it is, to be fair. I think that's a bit of a cop-out.
In order to come to that conclusion, you've got to say that Russell T Davies, Julie Gardner, and Phil Collinson were all basically corrupt.
Well, exactly.
And that's a heck of a thing to say.
That is it's
with no evidence.
Yeah, exactly. It's a massive thing to say.
You can't say this would be covered up unless you're saying that the people in charge of Doctor Who were prepared to cover it up.
Exactly.
I see no basis for credibility saying that.
No, that's a terrible thing to infer with that statement.
It is. I might believe it if it was some fly by night, sort of small budget setup or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But I wouldn't and couldn't believe it of the institutional monolith that is the BBC.
Exactly. No,
and the idea that a staff member could be treated like that and be brushed off if they made a complaint about it. I have a difficulty with that. Well,
it doesn't sit well, does it? It doesn't sit.
Noel Clarke's lawyers are cited as saying he strongly denies the allegation and the incident described did not take place. So
there you go.
When I think about this, these allegations, the first thing I know is that they are he said, she said.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is nobody brought in to say. No one even says, I remember Joanne being upset around that time. I remember Joanne saying she'd rather do something else than do Noel Clarke around that time. There's nobody like that. There's nobody. No voices have been found to speak up for this allegation whatsoever. As she is using her legal name, I looked her up on IMDb.
As you would.
And she, I look her up in general. You got her, really.
Absolutely.
And she appears to have stopped working in the industry at the end of 2013.
Right.
So she had a very busy career from 2002, I think it was, until 2013. She went on to do other things, as people do.
Yep.
I mean, I would have to say, in fairness, okay, so she'd only been working in the industry 2 years when she was doing Doctor Who. So perhaps someone could give that benefit of the doubt and say, well, maybe she was intimidated.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, this is supposed to happen in 2004. She's been out of the industry since 2013. She said nothing at all during Me Too.
Exactly.
And in fact, she seems to have said nothing at all for 17 years.
Exactly.
Why? Why did she not tell anyone in that time in between? It would certainly have helped her allegations' credibility.
Of course,
but there's nothing like that. So there's no sign that she even told any co-workers, which is a big red flag.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't gossip about being treated like that?
Well, it's the kind. I would imagine
that's a scumbag. Noel Clarke. I was just trying to do his makeup, and he was on about grabbing my hair and doing me from me hand. He's a pig. He's disgusting. I can't stand it.
Exactly.
Somebody
That's
would
what
have
would
said
happen.
something.
Something would have been said.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Even if it
Exactly.
wasn't, even if it was correct, but they felt too intimidated for whatever reason to make an official complaint, there would be some ripples
Exactly. You would have.
that
She would
that
have
would
said
come out of
something
that.
to someone. Something to someone.
But it's also, when I think about this account further, it's Joanne's own behaviour which raises question marks. Because
Right.
Noel Clarke was apparently said these two things to her, apparently upset her so much that she stormed out the trailer. Well, who finished his makeup?
Well, exactly.
Somebody would have had to have gone and finish that job,
Exactly.
And why did Joanna storm out of Noel's trailer? Why didn't Joanna do her job? I mean, you would think that she would be pulled up on that, and then she'd have a chance to explain because of this. But
Exactly.
how could a makeup artist just walk out a trailer and leave the talent half made up, and nobody
Exactly.
has to pick? That doesn't
Well, somebody has to.
ring true.
Exactly.
So again, you would think that there would be somebody who might remember that.
Well, you'd think
But
so, because somebody would say, "Well,
if there is
yeah,
such a person, the Guardian's not found them. So there's a lot
there's a lot there."
here, that there's just, I mean, as I mentioned in the article, I mean, I've seen so many of these accusations now. There is a similarity to the pattern of them, in that there's an attempt to put detail into the accusation itself. I mean, the allegation of exactly what was said to her, for example, is very detailed, but there's
Yeah,
no attempt to put this in a wider context, and no attempt to really justify why no one's heard about this for 17 years,
it's a
which
bit weird. Yeah,
it does challenge what's
it does
being said.
challenge. Yeah,
So the next accuser is anonymous.
yeah,
So she is Jenna in brackets.
yep.
Jenna is described as a runner and driver on Doctor Who in the mid 2000s.
Right.
She alleges Noel Clarke would touch her left hand or left leg while she was driving him, and asked her to come to his hotel room for sex on repeated occasions, as well as making ongoing unwelcome sexual compliments.
Right.
She says she complained to an assistant director, and as a result was put on other duties.
Right.
She then says Clarke had a negative bullying attitude to her subsequently for the rest of the time she was working on the same production.
Right.
Okay, so
Okay.
again, Noel Clarke denies all this. His lawyers point out the assistant director would have had to speak to higher ups to get Jenna's duties changed.
Of course.
And therefore Clarke would have been spoken to and reprimanded. There'd be paperwork, basically, but no one has ever said anything about this to Noel before Guardian's reporting, and it's not credible that BBC would have acted this way. Really, I think Noel Clarke's lawyers put their finger on all of it there.
Absolutely, because I mean, we all know that if you have to change a position in a job, it has to go to somebody higher. That's just the way it is. Always has been, always will be. So it does raise questions, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, when I look at these allegations, firstly, obviously, entirely he said, she said.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
secondly, they're effectively a blend of Gina Powell and Philippa Crabb.
Very much so. You can see that.
It seems like, let's put this through the same jelly mold and just change it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's very much identical to what was said before by these other accusers. Driving,
we change a few
go to the
words.
hotel room,
Yeah.
sexual compliments, and why does the Guardian not name this assistant director?
Exactly, which is a very
There
good
you
question.
are. I mean,
Simple
there is
question.
a primary witness who could substantially confirm this account.
Yep.
No mention of whoever he or her might be.
Indeed.
But then, of course, the other side of that is if that assistant director then goes, I don't remember this. I don't remember anything about this. I don't remember anything about changing Jenna's duties.
Yeah.
So perhaps that's the reason that information is not given.
You do get this impression that that's why other people aren't quoted.
But it's a very obvious thing,
it's obvious because
included.
Well, they know that straight away. If you name somebody else, people are going to go to that person and ask that question. So if you don't quote anyone, there's no way of checking on it. So, yes,
So,
indeed.
well, this is the quality of what we've got in this the
Exactly.
second round. Let's
Exactly.
push along to Monica.
Yep.
Monica, who was a Doctor Who runner at the time, alleges Noel Clarke made inappropriate sexual advances to her and another co-worker in the bar of Cardiff's Holland House Hotel in the mid-2000s,
Right.
following the work event. When they said
Mm.
they were interested, Noel was apparently rude and aggressive. The next day, she claimed Noel Clarke badmouthed both women on set.
Mm.
Noel Clarke denies this allegation. His lawyers point out Noel doesn't drink,
Ah,
so he wouldn't have a reason to be in a bar with two women after work. Well,
well, yeah, but who's the other woman?
there you
Or,
are. Straight away, Dobby.
yep.
Why
Who's
are
the
we
other
not?
person
Why are we not naming this co-worker who was a direct witness to these events?
who didn't exactly say the same thing happened?
I
So,
think that could be a very good reason.
absolutely.
Otherwise,
Absolutely.
that co-worker in there. And
Mm.
what Monica said was right. This co-worker would be right there going, yep, I was there. He said it to me too. Filthy bastard.
Absolutely.
He
Yep.
wanted us to drive it away with him in a hotel. What a monster. Nope, not there.
Nothing. Not even
Not
named.
there.
Nothing.
It's
Gone.
not there. Right.
Yeah. There you go. Says a lot.
The other thing to note about this accusation is that it's the same story that Jean Lucy told.
Exactly.
Noel Clarke asked me if I'd like to have sex. I said, no thanks.
Mm.
Apparently that's a scandal. But hey,
Well,
you know,
yeah. Okay.
so why would you go to police with something which clearly is not a crime? Fair enough on this one, it's not a crime.
It's not a crime. It's as much as it should, as some people may want it to be. It really isn't. It really
There's
isn't.
also the final point about this story is that there's no attempt to evidence this idea that Noel Clarke badmouthed him on set either.
Exactly.
There's no one coming around. Yeah, the next day I remember Noel actually said they were both total sluts.
Yeah, or anything, or why is he behaving like that? Why is he being nasty to these two people?
This is a funny thing, but in a much wider context, this is not the first time that people have claimed that Noel Clarke badmouthed them.
Yeah.
I think that the most damning example of that is, of course, Adam Deacon,
Yes.
the man who got himself convicted of sending death threats to Noel's children, as
Exactly.
running around a garden with a machete after his neighbour.
Very nice.
Adam Deacon's been telling that sort of story against Noel Clarke for 11 years.
Yeah.
Since September 2011, right?
Yeah.
At no point has anybody who's ever claimed this about Noel produced somebody who said, "Yeah, Noel told me that you were doing that."
Exactly.
Nobody.
Nothing.
Who did he badmouth them to? There's nobody prepared to stand up to a witness for this alleged badmouthing.
Well, exactly.
So again, it's a bit of Jean Lucy, it's a bit of Adam Deacon.
Yeah, a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, hiding behind the name and making sure that there's enough detail omitted, but nothing can be verified.
Exactly.
Who is Monica? When did she work on the production? When did this happen in the bar of Cardiff's Holland House Hotel? These details are not there. Mid 2000s. I mean, that could be any time over, say, 2-year period. So
Exactly.
there's plenty here, which is just, it's not even a full story. So
Exactly. It's not. It's just, yeah. It's a part story. At best.
Well, I mean, I think when it comes to the anonymous stuff, the best is still to come, because now we have the anonymous Doctor Who actor.
Indeed. Indeed.
A Doctor Who actor who asked to remain anonymous had told The Guardian she was also sexually harassed by Clarke in the early seasons of the show. He made advances on me, she said, regularly asking me if I wanted a piece of his dark chocolate.
Oh, dear.
When she rejected his advances, the actor said, Clarke bad-mouthed her to people in the industry. Again, the bad-mouthing allegation with nothing whatsoever to support it.
And no one from the industry mentioning any bad-mouthing at all.
Now, that's it. That 4-line paragraph I just read out to you, that's it. That is the allegation.
Oh, dear me. Oh, God.
I mean, it comes down to an anonymous Doctor Who actor says Noel Clarke made advances on me and regularly asked me if I wanted a piece of his dark chocolate. I mean, that is the allegation.
That's, wow. Yeah. Okay.
Noel Clarke, of course, denies this allegation. Lawyers said on this and other accusations were vague, unsupported by any objective evidence, lacking in specificity or coming from anonymized sources, making it difficult to provide a response. They said he has never sought to coerce, encourage, or pressurize any individual into non-consensual sexual activities and strongly rejects any suggestion he has been sexually inappropriate. Well, that's lawyer speak. But, you know, the one thing about Noel's lawyers is they're very consistent, unlike the Guardian's reporting.
Exactly. It's glaringly consistent. Yes. It says a lot, doesn't it?
But the one question that remains from this, of course, that any Doctor Who fan is going to be asking themselves is, who is this anonymous Doctor Who actor?
Exactly. Who?
I got some bad news there, because I don't know who it is, and even if I did know who it is, I wouldn't currently say so.
Exactly. Well, yeah, it'd be wise not to. Yes.
And the reason is that I felt that the evidence was so overwhelming about the two anonymous accusers that identified in the first article. But here, the evidence is distinctly lacking as to who this might be. Because the list of, I mean, if you take women with a speaking role who appeared in the same episode of Doctor Who as Noel Clarke, right? If you take that as the possible target list, it's not a short list, but it's not a long one either.
Well, no, it's not massive, is it?
There are only a set number of possibilities. And I did start digging around, and I did think, is it this one? Is it this one? You know, and I did look into this, and I did sort of go down this road, really, because I worked out who those names are. But because whoever this person is has never stood up this accusation in public under their own name.
Exactly.
I think that for me to speculate rashly on who that might be could be a very big mistake. You know, and could certainly be defamatory.
Oh yes, so, absolutely.
I haven't done that, and I don't especially encourage people to poke around to try and work it out either. I think what should happen at this point, we know this Doctor Who accuser did not go to police.
Exactly.
We know that this Doctor Who accuser's story is 4 piss-weak lines in the Guardian.
Yeah.
You know, and a sentence statement about dark chocolate. Well, I mean, that's what counts. You know, that's anyone can get in with an Noel Clarke accusation at this point.
Well,
you know,
anyone
didn't need anything particularly to it. You know, say he doesn't like jelly babies or something. That'll do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything,
anything. So you can throw something at him. Yeah.
But there is another counterpoint that I would like to make to this, which is, okay, so this Doctor Who accuser has very little credibility. And there's no names, no times, no dates, nothing to verify, no attempt to verify. Just the accusations and Ciaran Cale and Lucy Osborne asking us to believe. Okay.
Yeah.
But what about anonymous Doctor Who defenders?
Indeed.
Because in an article published 30th of May 2021, so this would be the end of the month, about 3 weeks after this Guardian article came out, the Daily Mail publishes these somewhat buried paragraphs.
Right.
An actress friend of Noel Clarke told Mail Online earlier today that the 20 women accusing him of being a sexual predator are pursuing a racist witch hunt, as the actor was sacked by Sky, suspended by BAFTA, and criticised by a co-star who backed his alleged victims. That would be Chrissy Chong, by the way. The actress, who asked not to be named, said the 45-year-old actor, writer and director's fall from grace is because no one likes it when a man of colour gets to the top.
Ow.
So that is what an actual Doctor Who co-star said.
Actually said. Indeed.
Yeah. But as far as they were concerned, this isn't Noel. but it's all spurred on by prejudice and, in their opinion, racism.
Ow.
Now, the one thing I can tell you about that quote is that quote did not come from somebody who might have said it, which would be Sophia Myles.
Indeed.
So there is another female Doctor Who co-star who has strongly defended Noel in the press, and I do know who it is, but I am not going to say so.
Good idea. Yes.
Right. But I want people to think that, okay, what about anonymous defenders? Because there have actually been some.
There have indeed.
And, you know, does one anonymous defender counterbalance one anonymous accuser? I think he probably does.
Well, I think it is, as far as I'm concerned, it does.
You know, you've got two claims made with an equal lack of evidence, while if one claim is made with a lack of evidence, you've been dismissed with a lack of evidence. That's basic debating, you know. So that's very well worth pointing out. But the Daily Mail does bury that. I do provide the link for that article in case people want to go and check it out. But you have to scroll down into the middle of it, because what tends to happen with the Daily Mail is they'll start off with quite a dramatic headline, but then over the next 24 to 48 hours, they'll dial that headline back, and they'll also fill out the article with a load of crap.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
the actual original title for that article is still in the URL, because this is how you can tell whether the Daily Mail has messed with its headlines.
Right.
Because the URL for the article will have the original headline.
Exactly.
So that article originally was titled "It's Racist Witch Hunt. Actress friend Noel Clarke claims he's unfairly vilified," but that got shoved down to the middle of the article by the time the Daily Mail had messed about with it and put all the other crap in. But it does exist, and you can find that in there. So well worth pointing out.
Yes, indeed.
So let's think about John Barrowman.
Yeah.
Well, before we start on the John Barrowman stuff, let's recap. I'm not looking at chat actually. What have we got coming back from the chat at the moment?
A lot of people are. It's. I mean, we've had a few things about dark chocolate, which have been quite humorous, to be brutally honest. But a lot of people are just saying vague allegations with no details are often false. In the courts of public opinion, weight of evidence is not what tips the scales. It's a lot of people. I mean, Noel from the Tidy Zone, who I know you're going to be on at 8 o'clock with, and everybody should tune in for that, has basically said that he's surprised that somebody went down the racism line because, you know, racism is, and I think, I mean, me personally, I actually think that had a lot to have to do with it.
These are people who've worked with Noel, who know Noel a long time, and they knew him when he was starting out. So they've probably seen him actually have to battle through quite a bit of prejudice.
Of course, because
so I mean, it's probably not a great surprise to them that Noel Clarke has had to deal with maybe not out and out racism, but racist sentiment.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
When Noel picked Bulletproof to Sky, for example, he had a hell of a fight with them. Because they point blank said that you can't have a successful drama show with two black leads.
Well, which is just a lot of rubbish.
It is, but and he went on to prove that by having two black leads, you know.
Exactly.
Drama. But I mean, even then, that was like 2017. That the first series of Bulletproof went out.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know, even 10 years after his Doctor Who period, you know, Noel's still having to deal with attitudes like that in the industry.
Yeah, which is
the idea. I mean, we discussed this a little bit, you know, in previous streams.
We did indeed.
The idea also could exist that Noel Clarke is seen as the wrong kind of ethnic minority.
Yeah.
To be the first BAFTA winner. And I suggested, without pointing fingers, but I suggested that perhaps there's people of other ethnicities who think their ethnicity should be first, not Black British.
Yes, indeed. I'm sure there
one
are.
Should not close one's mind to the possibility of just who might benefit from sticking a knife in someone's back in the entertainment industry.
Which is
at the best of times. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm glad to bring that to people's attention. But co-stars are quoted in the press saying that the target of Noel Clarke was based on racism. That is a fact.
Well,
That opinion exists out there. So okay, well, John Barrowman. As you might imagine, Dobby, dealing with this aspect of the allegations against Noel, I've tried to approach this very sensitively.
yes, indeed, indeed.
In part because I don't want to rake back over stuff which is kind of settled for John now. He's moved on. So
Yeah,
I'm not trying to
absolutely,
drag him back
absolutely.
into this, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
And also, but it's important to to clarify something for fandom, which is this idea that Noel Clarke in some way did the dirty on John Barrowman,
right, yeah,
which has been believed. I think it's
of
believed
course,
less than it
yeah,
was. But I think it was believed quite strongly at the time
yeah,
because people make
yeah,
emotion, you know. So I hope that we're going to dispel that as well, and that nothing I'm saying here is in any way meant to be a criticism of John Barrowman, and he's getting ahead on with his life, and I think that's fantastic.
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
right at the top of this, I say in the article I say before discussing the detail, I'd like to say none of this has ever held any water against John in the time since the Guardian article was published. None of
Yeah,
it.
none of it.
No one ever made a police complaint against him. All of his co-workers have been supportive. He's back on the convention circuit, and
Yeah,
his career has taken a dip, but he seems to be getting on with rebuilding it. And there's no suggestion that any of this is a barrier to him being involved in future projects.
yeah,
So, in many ways, John Barrowman has totally moved on. But nevertheless, this is where we were on the 7th of May last year. The reason John got into hot water was all about a video.
yeah,
I think everybody watching this must already have seen this video.
of course, of course.
It's I think it was Chicago 2014.
I think so.
And
Yeah,
it's a video of Noel Clarke in a panel session with Camille Kaduri. And he's talking about John Barrowman's antics, basically getting his bits out to prank his co-workers.
yeah,
Now, the video, as I say, is a clip from this Chicago convention in 2014. So by the time we got to May 2021,
yeah.
that was 7 years before.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately that this happened, John put out a statement, apologised for exposing himself repeatedly while filming Doctor Who, insisted it was just tomfoolery. As for show's architect, Russell T Davies denied knowing anything about inappropriate behaviour on set. Okay,
Right.
so there
Okay.
we go. So, I mean, that's basically immediately what happened. The Daily Mail and others ran with it on the same day of the 7th of May.
Yeah.
It looked really, really bad for John Barrowman.
Yeah. It did. It did. Let's be
And it
honest. It did.
didn't look great for Noel Clarke either,
No.
as a bloke telling the story.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, you think this is funny? Looking back at it from 2021, looking back at 2014, so it wasn't Noel either. And I think that's one of the first reasons we need to be skeptical about the idea that Noel had anything to do with getting it in the press.
Exactly.
He had so much trouble of his own. Why would he make himself look even worse? And in any cases, as I'm going to prove, there was no need for Noel Clarke to be involved because it was all out there, and the Daily Mail was quite capable of finding it on its own. So, but I mean, again, the way that they used that, again, Noel Clarke used his microphone as a penis, said the Daily Mail.
Ugh.
That's because he was making little bopping motions with it to sort of stimulate what
exactly.
was doing on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Oh my God! What a monster! He uses a microphone as a penis. Said the
like it's not been done a million times before.
Oh God! Yeah, I mean, just to show another reason why Noel wouldn't have been involved in that. The Daily Mail reports the video itself, but doesn't credit its source.
Right. Surprise,
However,
surprise.
Pink News
Oh,
were much less shy, quite possibly because of who the source is.
exactly. Yeah.
Because on June the 18th, 2019, a chap called Kieran Hyman, who's got the at the 66 Ramblers,
Right.
put
Yeah.
that clip up with the statement, "Honey, you've got a big storm coming."
Right.
So that video, as quoted in the press, had been on Twitter since June the 18th, 2019.
Yeah.
This was in reply to Josh Snares. So this was in Josh Snares' little part of fandom this actually came from.
Yeah.
At the time the Daily Mail went to press with this video 2 years later, I checked it on the day, and I recall it was around 4,500, 5,000 views.
Yeah.
Today it's 1.3 million.
Right.
So, you know, there is no doubt this is the origin of that video.
Indeed,
This
it
is
is.
the origin of the video that was used to do the damage to John Barrowman in the media. This was the video that was used by The Guardian, by the Daily Mail, by Pink News, by the Daily Mirror, by The Sun, by anybody else who ran the story, which is probably all of them.
Yeah. Because
You know? So what's Noel Clarke got to do with that?
nothing. Really.
There we go. So, you know, if anybody wants to know who's responsible for that, whether they knew it was going to happen or what, you know, it would be Kieran and his circle of Josh's friends. You know, that was where this came from. It's a matter of historical fact. So let's have that clear. And
Yeah.
there's simply no
Absolutely.
reason to believe that Noel Clarke in any way did John Barrowman the dirty, other than by talking about him 7 years before in a way that he would never have imagined it
Yeah.
would come back later. And I'm, you know, maybe he would never have said anything. Who knows? But you know, quite likely even. But there we go. On top of that, the accusers under the pseudonym being quoted by the Guardian, Jenna and Monica, then go on to basically back up what was said about John Barrowman. Jenna said she frequently witnessed Barrowman expose himself on set. He'd get his genitals out on a regular basis. He'd have his balls hanging out of his trousers or something, which he just thought was funny. She said, I'm directly quoting here. On one occasion, Jenna said she witnessed Barrowman slapping his penis on the windscreen of one of the driver's cars, thinking it was really funny. Monica had similar recollections. Sometimes he'd call me into his dressing room. I would knock on the door and he'd say, "Oh, look at this." And he'd just have his willy out, standing in the doorway, she said. It was kind of accepted that was his thing, she said. Although she did not get his behaviour or find it particularly funny, Monica stressed she did not feel unsafe. It just felt really uncomfortable, she said. And
Right.
I made a point of quoting exactly what those women said about John in the Guardian's Doctor Who
Yeah.
article.
Yeah.
Because it's really bad. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
horrible.
It
You know,
is.
that's awful things to say. And you know, fair enough. John Barrowman did do stuff like that, and he put his hands up to it at the time. He apologised for it at the time. He's
Yeah.
apologised
Exactly.
since. You know, but okay. I want us to consider for a moment. This is the reality of what John Barrowman actually did do.
Yeah.
Okay, so if stories in the Guardian, the Daily Mail, Pink News, and others all fail to cancel John Barrowman because there's no police action following the story.
Exactly.
Nobody else came forward.
No.
Nobody else had any more stories to tell. Nobody involved in the production where everybody seems to acknowledge this happened, seems to have a problem with it, and nobody wants to make it a police matter.
Yeah.
So John Barrowman gets his life back.
Exactly.
But
Exactly. So why can't Noel?
really think about this. You know, if that's true for John Barrowman, why is it not true for Noel Clarke?
Exactly. It's because it's exactly the same thing.
But then John Barrowman didn't have a prestigious award to get cancelled from.
Oh, this
And
is the
Noel
thing,
Clarke
isn't it? Yes. This is the thing. The thing
and
is,
of
he
course,
didn't.
the media
Yeah.
had gone all in on that right from the start,
Yeah.
and therefore weren't compromised on a potential U-turn.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they're more willing to do a mea culpa, benefit of the doubt. It was all a laugh. It was all a long time ago. Gosh, I wouldn't do anything so silly now. They're more willing to extend that to John Barrowman because it didn't make them look bad.
And it did, yeah, and it impacted nothing really, did it? It
If that
impacted
was
nothing.
they basically putting their hands up and saying, "Don't even bother suing us. Here's the money." The
Yeah,
damage,
yeah, exactly.
damages, especially the Guardian. And the Guardian is now, sadly, I think, the only organisation that Noel Clarke is still suing because he's had to
Yeah,
drop his against BAFTA. We don't know especially why. I think looking forward to Noel having something to say about that, which I think he might have done if the Queen hadn't passed away last week.
yes,
And sort of
indeed.
disrupted things. So I think at some point in the not too distant future, I would hope that Noel will put out a little video or something which will
Yeah,
address what
yeah,
got that case after. But the Guardian is the only game in town in terms of legal action now,
yeah.
and so rightly. I mean,
Well, yeah.
who are these clowns they employed that we went on to get the National Journalism Award to?
Oh, I mean, yeah. Come on. I mean, yeah. Exactly. And let's be honest, it's the Guardian's article that started the dominoes falling. So it makes sense to go for them, the ones who started all this unfortunate things that has happened to Noel. So they're the primary target. That's in my opinion, in any case.
Well, we've had a damn good go at it, haven't we? Whatever
Oh
else
God,
we say,
yeah.
we've had a damn good go.
Oh wow.
Uh, but it wasn't good enough. Noel's
No,
still standing, and we as fans are now standing with him. And
absolutely.
we're not backing down, and we're not going away, and this isn't going to just disappear. So bad luck.
Yeah, tough.
Yeah,
Tough,
absolutely.
basically.
So let's get a summary of where we are now. How do you feel about the John Barrowman aspect of this? Is that covered? Have you got any questions about it?
Not really, because it's like the only thing that, as you said yourself, is when I mean, John Barrowman's just been allowed to just get on with things. But as you said, it's because Noel clearly, and the more you look at this, and the more you read the articles, Noel was clearly targeted. They definitely wanted him out of the way, and that's what, when you compare it with the John Barrowman situation with Noel Clarke's situation, although they're technically the same, as in there's accusations made but there's no actual evidence, it's Noel has been clearly targeted from the get-go, and that makes it even worse, because that's really that's I mean, if it was like if it was just one of those things, that's fine. But when you can see, and if you start reading the articles and using your brain, you can see that Noel has been ambushed and targeted, and that makes it even more painful and more disgusting. And that, I mean, that's just my humble opinion, obviously, but I think
Absolutely.
I think it's for somebody somewhere has made this decision to do this
Can I
to a
just
human being.
can I just
It's
bring up
wrong.
something I've just seen from comments from good old Noel's own. Hi Noel.
Yeah, I
He
know.
said, well, John stick getting some stick, not as much as Noel, I admit, but there's still a mob after John.
Well,
I
yeah,
agree with Noel. Yeah, there are, but
yep,
the difference is cancellation's not working.
no,
In particular, John Barrowman's fully booked for conventions and appearances.
yep, he certainly is.
His upcoming events page on his webpage is as busy as it's been in his busiest previous years.
Yeah,
So, certainly in terms of fandom cancellations, that's not stuck, that's not worked.
no, that's just
And
dropped off.
yes, I mean, it has impacted his TV projects. Yes, I agree. But he still has ability to get his life back. It's not a perfect world. When people throw all this mud at you,
Yeah,
deserved or not, it takes time to wash off.
it certainly does.
You
It
know,
certainly
and I'm
does.
not saying that everything's hunky do and like nothing ever happened to John Barron. That's not true.
No,
But he's been given the reprieve.
yes,
And he's moving on, or
yeah,
moved on. That's all. That's what Noel needs. He needs to be
Yeah.
able to move on. You know,
It
and
should,
it
well,
means
it should be allowed.
he needs to be able to be treated normally like any other talent.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's now look at what the BBC had to say.
Oh, the good old BBC.
Um, so as I start off this section of the article, at the same time as 66 Ramblers video had engulfed John Barrowman in his own media storm, sparked by the press going after Noel Clarke, the BBC had to get their ducks in a row and make as credible a response to The Guardian as they could as they went to press.
Indeed.
Now, any Doctor Who fan should know that when it comes to the RTD era of Doctor Who, there are 3 people who would have been directly involved in any problems or complaints with either Noel Clarke or John Barrowman. Maybe not all 3 would have been involved, but one of them would have had to have been minimum. And if it was any kind of significant problem, they all would know.
Exactly.
And those 3 people are Russell T. Davies, showrunner,
Yep.
Julie Gardner, executive producer,
Mm-hmm.
and Phil Collinson, producer.
Yeah.
And this also brings up the video that confirmed the John Barrowman video,
Yeah.
which is the Ballad of Russell and Julie, which was a satire piece performed by David Tennant, Catherine Tate, and John Barrowman. Basically, you know, as a last hurrah for RTD and Julie leaving the show.
Yeah.
And also, you know, obviously, that means David Tennant and Catherine Tate as well, because they're leaving at the same time. So they put this on, and in one of the funny lines, there is a line about John Barrowman getting his dick out, and John Barrowman's on piano and winks to camera. You know, it's funny. It's funny.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It is funny.
But
it is funny.
The video was made as a tribute at the time RTD was leaving the show, so around 2010, and it would seem to confirm what was said by Noel Clarke. It's also worth pointing out that there are other people who said stories like that about John Barrowman, but the press didn't go after them.
Exactly. Funny that. Funny that.
I really mean by this, for example. So, you know, I think a lot of us know about the Ballad of Russell and Julie, but if you haven't seen it or just want to laugh, it's well worthwhile, and I'll put the link in.
Yeah.
So, regarding the complaints about John Barrowman, Julie Gardner confirmed she received a complaint around 2008 about Barrowman's conduct on the set of Torchwood. I met with John and reprimanded him, Gardner said, adding she also spoke to other executive producers. Well, there you go. That's Collinson, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Barrowman and the head of BBC Drama Commissioning, which wasn't Piers Morgan at the time, but it would have been whoever had his job before. I could look it up who it was. But wasn't it a lady? Wasn't it a lady who first commissioned Doctor Who to come back? Some people know. To make it clear to both John and his agent that behaviour at camp would not be tolerated, to my knowledge, John's inappropriate behaviour stopped thereafter. So, Julie Gardner says, I told John Barrowman off in 2008. It never happened again.
There you go. Problem solved.
Julie Gardner also states she'd never heard anything about any problems with Noel Clarke. Again, direct quote. Gardner told The Guardian she was not aware of any inappropriate behaviour by Clarke. I am saddened and shocked by the accusations raised. If I had known of them, there would have been prompt action taken, she said. I am grateful that people are coming forward to speak up and support them wholeheartedly. Stuff I've got to say. Yeah. Russell T. Davies said he never saw Barrowman expose himself and was unaware of any complaints about Clarke's behaviour towards female co-workers on set and never heard of or witnessed inappropriate behaviour by the actor. Had he received a complaint, Davies said he would have acted immediately. He's been quoted as saying, I apologise wholeheartedly to any cast or crew who went through this, Davies said, adding all power to those coming forward. Now we will listen to them and learn. End quote. A BBC source also independently confirmed that John Barrowman was reprimanded. A BBC spokesman confirmed to The Guardian that Barrowman was reprimanded for his behaviour. To be absolutely clear, we will investigate any specific allegations made by individuals to the BBC, and if anyone has been subjected to or witnessed inappropriate behaviour of any kind, we encourage them to raise it with us directly, BBC spokesman said. We have a zero tolerance approach and robust processes are in place, which are regularly reviewed and updated to reflect best practice to ensure any complaints or concerns are handled with the utmost seriousness and care. So when you put that together, that's a pretty robust response from the BBC.
Absolutely. Says a lot as well. Says a lot.
Gardner saying, yes, John Barrowman has misbehaved, he got slapped down for it. Never heard anything bad against Noel. You've got T. Davis says, I didn't see John Barrowman do anything, but I never heard anything bad about Noel.
Well, there you go.
And
Says a lot.
we can also, but that's what they actually have to say is we've got nothing bad to say about Noel Clarke.
Exactly.
They're just having to do it behind the sort of provisos and qualifying statements that you have to make when you're facing a complete media onslaught. And the last thing you want to give is any impression that you don't take any of this seriously.
Indeed.
They're taking it seriously, but there's nothing, they're not aware of anything to take seriously.
Exactly. There's nothing there.
Nobody has got bad things to say about Noel Clarke's time on Doctor Who, apart from this handful of new accusers, who we know for a fact did not go to police.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, there's two more things I want to say about this in particular. The first is the one name which is not quoted in The Guardian, which identified as one of the three people who would definitely know something.
Yeah.
Phil Collins. So, are we to believe that The Guardian obtained quotes from Russell T. Davis and Julie Gardner, but never sought quotes from Phil Collinson?
Bit of a weird one if they did. If they didn't, it wouldn't make sense, would it?
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No sense at all, really.
So, did they approach Phil Collinson for a quote and he didn't want to give one?
But then again, in media, they always go, "We approached," and they had nothing to say. Exactly.
Exactly. Or did they approach Phil Collinson for a quote and he gave them one? Now, if Phil Collinson gave him a quote and it said, actually, I thought Noel was a bit dodgy from the start, they would have put that in the paper.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So if Phil Collinson had anything negative to say about Noel Clarke whatsoever, it would have gone in the press.
Absolutely.
But if they approached Phil Collinson for a quote, they gave him a quote, and it was supportive, then they don't put that in the paper?
Now,
I mean, I'm just saying, what happened to Phil Collinson? Did they not speak to him? Did they speak to him but not use it? I mean, and I think that there isn't anything in public that's been said about this that I could find. I mean, it just occurs to me, where is he? He's notable for absence. Why is he not there?
Absolutely.
So I do wonder, if fans were to politely and courteously ask Collinson about this.
Yeah.
If anyone's got a line to him, if he's someone that he's spoken to in the past, who I think would at least be prepared to listen to their question. If fandom could obtain a quote from Phil Collinson on this matter, it could make a big difference.
Yeah, of course it would.
Yeah, I think especially if it turned out that if Phil Collinson did address this and he said, "Yeah, I spoke to The Guardian, we didn't use a word," that would be pretty damaging.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
On the basis if that's true, and if like Russell and Julie, Phil Collinson has got no negative opinion of Noel Clarke at all, and there were no problems with Noel Clarke on production Doctor Who, well, I might say, go on, Phil. It's the least you should do.
Yeah, go on, say something. It would be the right thing to do. Absolutely the right thing to do.
And I mean, reviewing all this, and also the fact that there's anonymous defenders of Noel.
Yeah, absolutely. Which have, as we've covered earlier in the stream, have been pushed out of the way. Yeah,
there is a huge amount of love for Noel.
Oh, there is absolutely
amongst his characters on Doctor Who.
Yeah, absolutely. And
and I think that fandom should think on that and should reflect that
Indeed.
in their willingness to open their hearts to Noel and to see that he's a human being, not a monster.
Yeah, because I
Which
mean, yeah, we're all human, but is it right to sit by quietly and see someone be treated like this? And
well, you do say something, Gobby.
yeah,
And I mean, if you see something's wrong and bad, you should speak up and say something. But if you also see that someone's being treated wrong, you should speak
exactly,
up.
exactly. I mean, just basic morals, ladies and gentlemen, just basic morals. You can see someone being treated like this. He's a family man. Just take a moment and step back and just think. He's a family man, like I am, like many of you are out there, and to have his life destroyed on these hearsay, is it right? Is it right for you to sit there and just accept that fact, or should you actually, like many of us are now, just stand up and say something? It's just common decency. That's as I've said before on many other streams. I don't get how people can be like they are. I really can't.
I mean, another part of the Doctor Who part of the allegations against Noel is a lot of these allegations against Noel are kind of saying, well, maybe if it isn't a crime, it's institutional privilege.
Oh, yeah,
It's a
okay.
power in some way, right? And they say things like Noel badmouthed me. I mean, we've discussed it already, but
Yeah, exactly.
Noel said shitty things about me to other people the next day. Noel tried to get me cancelled. Noel tried to hurt my career in the industry. In 2004, 2005, Noel Clarke was nobody at the bottom of the ladder who just literally just got his sort of foot in the door.
Yeah.
Like the idea that he's some sort of bigwig who can get people made and broken at a click of his fingers.
Yeah.
Even if you were to believe that fantasy about him, say 2015 sort of period where he was making Brotherhood,
Yeah.
which is where complaints of the likes of Gina Powell and so all relate around those films Legacy and Brotherhood, 2013, 14, 15. A lot of it's centered around them. You've got the other accusations like Mel, who we know is Jane Winston. She also said that about Noel, that he tried to put a word in to damage her in the industry. Well, her bloody dad is Ray Winston. Who the hell's Noel Clarke? The idea that Noel Clarke could say things that would damage her is a pathetic joke.
Oh, come on. I mean, really? I mean,
and supposedly in the same time frame, he supposedly had that power on the set of Doctor Who. I'm calling it, Gobby. It's bullshit.
Absolute stinking bullshit. It really is.
I could have given it a questionable benefit of the doubt later on, 10 years later, when Noel was doing his own producing. I don't believe it, but I could have given it at least some benefit of the doubt credibility.
Yeah.
But this, no way. No way.
No way in hell.
And once again, there is nobody to stand up any of it.
No one. No support at all from it.
And there's
None
certainly
at all.
zero support from within the BBC.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
And, people could be cynical about that. You've got lots of reason to distrust the BBC and so forth and so on. But the BBC would have everything to gain by dunking on Noel Clarke at this point.
Of course they would. Of course they would.
They would have everything to gain. They didn't do it because they've got no facts that would support doing it, even if they wanted to.
Well, exactly. Yeah, well, I don't know. It's just, as I said, the more you read, the more you look into it, the more, you use your brain and your common sense. None of this sits right, does it? Let's be honest. None of it sits right with anyone. Really doesn't. Doesn't sit right with me, in any case. I know that for a fact. None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense.
Where do we start? I mean,
exactly. It's like, oh God, really?
When I started down this road, right, I really didn't know what I was going to find.
No,
okay.
No.
When I started off investigating that first Guardian article, starting to find out who his different accusers were, starting to track them down a bit, trying to get a sense of what they were like as people. If the evidence had gone the other way, I'd have gone the other way, Dobby.
Oh well, of course,
You know,
and
I look into this, and actually, I'm not good. I'm not happy about this. Maybe there is something to it. That is what I would have concluded. I
of
didn't
course,
conclude it. That's not where the evidence went. But by the
yep,
time I got this Guardian stuff, the second Guardian article, the Doctor Who stuff, my tolerance with even entertaining the bullshit dropped down
yeah,
to nothing.
absolutely, absolutely.
It's so obvious what this is.
Yeah, it's blatantly obvious to anyone who's prepared to listen. And I know there are, unfortunately, those out there that aren't prepared to listen. If you listen and use your head, really, come on now. It's like,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? Indeed.
I want to check in with chat for a moment here. So we've covered the Guardian accusations. We've covered the John Barrowman aspect. We've covered BBC's response. Is there anything from any of you at the moment that you would like me to address before we move on? Because we're now getting to the juicy stuff.
Yeah, we're getting to the right good stuff. So, is there any questions? Anyone in the chat want to say anything, or are you all happy for us?
Everyone's happy. Everyone's up to speed. Moving on, Gobby.
Moving on. Let's crack on. Let's crack on.
Yeah, moving on. Okay.
Let's get to the good bit.
Well, I mean, the good bit, the bad bit, but the most important bit from the point of view of what
absolutely
just discovered. Yeah. Which is
absolutely.
to do with a lady called Lisa Graham. Who is the second named accuser in the second Guardian article against Noel Clarke. And this is to do with the 2016 Bournemouth Film and Comic Con.
Right.
Now, this makes this accusation stand out from all of the others.
It most certainly does.
Because this is the only accusation from somebody who is not involved either in front or behind of the camera in TV or film production.
Indeed.
Instead, this is somebody who I'm going to presume is a fan, perhaps of Doctor Who, but certainly of some franchises.
Yep, absolutely.
Who works in the Comic-Con world. So I've approached this very seriously. And I can tell you that most of the research that I did for this were to do with looking into this part of the story. And, that's what held this up a little bit as well, for a very good reason, which I'm very glad about. But I want to be utterly and totally fair to Lisa Graham.
Yeah.
I want to give her allegation every chance of being looked at fairly.
Yes, indeed.
Stood fairly, and form a fair opinion. As it turns out, that's not very hard.
No.
Because the first thing I did with Lisa Graham is I looked for her, as you would.
Yeah, as you would. Of course you would.
Right?
Yeah,
she's
absolutely.
using her legal name to make this accusation against Noel Clarke. We'll come to what it actually is in a moment. But I looked for her, couldn't find her.
Right.
Couldn't find her.
Nowhere to be seen.
Instagram, no sign of Lisa Graham. I asked other people to help me look. Nobody else could find her.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean that she doesn't have social media.
No, of course it doesn't.
But it does mean that if she does, it is not primarily, she's not identifying clearly who she is, and it may be under another username, or she may not be an user of social media at all.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I went looking for her social media wasn't to sort of signpost and go, "Oh, you go about social media, everybody." It was, excuse me.
No worries.
It was so I could see, has she said anything else since? Has she said anything to strengthen or support what she said in The Guardian?
Absolutely.
Did she say anything about Noel Clarke before then? I was looking to get a better picture. But being as I couldn't find any social media for her, I wasn't able to do that.
No.
But social media may be out there. But for now, the only information that's come from Lisa Graham is what was published in The Guardian last year. There is nothing else.
Right. Okay. Nothing.
So we better look seriously at what is in The Guardian. So I'm
exactly.
actually going to read this verbatim.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So I make sure that there's no ambiguity. Clarke also stands accused of behaving inappropriately at an external function related to his role in Doctor Who. In May 2016, Lisa Graham volunteered at Bournemouth Film and Comic Con, held at the Bournemouth International Centre. She was assigned to help Clarke sign autographs and take photographs with paying fans. At this event, Graham alleges that Clarke sexually harassed her and touched her inappropriately under the table they were both sitting at. He would literally lean in and grab me outside of my thigh, Graham recalled. On one occasion, she said, Clarke attempted to touch her inner thigh. It started out on the knee, she said, but there was a point where he tried to lean towards my inner thigh and I physically moved my chair to get away.
Right. Okay.
When women walked past the stand, Graham said, Clarke would rate them out of 10 in terms of sexual attractiveness and make derogatory and disrespectful comments. She also alleged that Clarke repeatedly asked her to have sex with him. Because they were both in public, Graham says she did not feel physically threatened by Clarke. However, she found his comments to be disgusting. By the end of the day, as we were packing away, Graham mentioned the harassment to his supervisor. The supervisor laughed away the remarks, Graham recalled, and did not appear to take it seriously. Clarke's lawyers touched anyone inappropriately or in a sexual way and pointed out the convention was a public event where there were always people present. They said Clarke had no specific recollections of discussions with Graham, but wholly denied he would have conducted himself in the way she alleged. Okay, that's it. If you want to assess whether what Lisa Graham says is credible or not, you have to do it on those words and those words alone.
Because that's all there is. That's it.
That's all there is. Yes, absolutely. So, summarising, let's just summarise, bullet point that. May 16, Bournemouth Film and Comic Con.
Yep.
Assigned to assist Noel to sign autographs and take photographs with paying fans.
Mm-hmm.
Played some form of footsie leg squeezing with her under the table.
Right.
Discussed women walking past in terms of sexual attractiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Asked repeatedly to have sex by Noel Clarke. Tried to report to supervisor. Report was brushed off. Noel Clarke denies all claims. That's what we've got here.
Right.
Now, the first thing to observe is, of course, there is nothing here from anybody else to back any of this up.
No, I mean, obviously, the very first question is who was the supervisor?
Well, I mean, that's high on the list.
The very first question that you would ask is who's that?
It's the same assistant director earlier. Who was that then? I mean, you would think if you wanted to do something for Me Too victims, right, and you've got somebody working as a supervisor at a convention, right, who basically brushing off a report of Me Too, a Me Too occurrence under their own nose.
Nah.
And they did that 5 years ago. Wow, you would think that would be somebody to
well, that'd be worth it. Exactly.
Why
I mean,
publish that person's name.
Exactly.
Why would you not do that? I mean,
this is the thing that always amazes me with these comments and the way they're said is you would name that person. You just would. It would, even if you weren't going to consciously do it. So it would slip out.
If I go to the Guardian with a story which is true, right, just for sake of hypotheticals, I go with a true story about how I was sexually abused and about how my boss brushed it off, right? Why would I not name my boss?
Exactly. You would immediately.
What could be the reason to not name my boss? But I'd be worried that my boss would go, "That's not true. That never happened." I mean, that's basically it, isn't it? But then if you go, yes, it did, and then who knows? If they're doing that, if they're treating people like that one time, they must have done it another. I mean, more people. Or, oh gosh, now this is a strange one. Why does Lisa Graham not have any friends?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Because,
yeah.
You'd think, hey, that supervisor brushed me off. I had a terrible time. Well, guess what happened to me at Bournemouth? I mean,
Exactly.
how would that not happen?
Well, I mean, come on, we've all done it. We've all,
And
you
and,
know,
and Me Too had started by May 2016.
yeah.
So how does that make any sense? So I mean, that's just to
It just,
start with.
yeah, it doesn't sit. It just doesn't sit, does it? It just
Um,
doesn't sit.
but I've got to run through this again from the start on the notes here, which is to say that it's entirely he said, she said, no
Yep,
corroborating statements, no identity of his supervisor, and we know that Lisa Graham did not go to police.
yep. That's
Now,
it.
as I said, if this was like another of the Guardian accusations, I might have just finished there.
Yeah,
But because this is coming from fandom, and because
yeah.
this is somebody who I suppose might be considered more of a civilian,
Yes, exactly. Yep.
not someone from inside the industry, not a
No.
professional, but more somebody who's one of us. I really wanted to do a thorough job. So as I said, I couldn't find. Actually, before I go into that, I also want to say I then looked into where exactly is this supposed to have taken place?
Yeah,
Lisa
yeah.
Graham assisting Noel Clarke, to help him sign autographs and take photographs for paying fans.
Right.
So what you've got is a kind of conveyor belt setup
Yeah, yeah,
where you've got a long wall of 4-foot partitions with a big A2 poster of the respective star on each one.
yeah.
Yeah, and they're crammed in like sardines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're literally all jammed up against each other, the star and their helper, while at the
yeah.
same time you've got a continuous stream of
Of
people.
people. Yep.
Continuous. So, at no point, I think if you kind of just read it in the article and you might think, oh, a table in a hall, and you might think of a situation where there's a certain amount of space from the table and stuff, but that wasn't how this was. And I'm going briefly, actually, I'll pop, while I'm chatting to you about it, I'll pop back over to Justice Noel Clarke and I'll grab the link and I'll put it in there so you can show,
Yeah,
to other people, Gobby, because we should put this on the stream. We really
yeah, yeah.
should. I'm just popping this now in the private chat part of the stream. That's the Twitter link. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, got it, got it, got it. I'm gonna yep, no worries. Got it. It'll come over. And
Just
here we
get.
go. There you go. There's the link. It should come up.
You
There you go. Boom. There's the link, and I'll put it on the screen.
can
There you go.
you get the actual image on the screen, Gobby?
I will try my best. Carry on talking, and I shall do my best.
Right,
Yeah.
Lonnie can do it.
All right, all right, all right. Yeah, well, he might have a nice fancy computer.
Lonnie,
Yeah, he might have a nice fancy computer. I haven't.
right, you're
Right,
on the
bear with
shit.
me. I'll be with you in a minute.
But yeah, well, people can go see it anyway. Linked in the article. It's right there in the text of the article. But I found this fan's blog. Bless him. He went to everybody. He must have spent a fortune.
Yeah.
But because he did that, I was able to take pictures, take some of his pictures, which clearly show the setup.
Yeah.
And to Noel's right, so on the left of the picture is the actor Howard Charles. To Noel's left is the actor Kai Owens. One up from Kai Owens was also Gemma Redgrave. If this was true, if Lisa Graham was so shocked by Noel Clarke attention to squeeze her in a thigh that she jumped her chair back, for example.
Yeah.
If Noel Clarke was going 9, 10, 4, scoring women for sexual attractiveness, that would have been overheard.
Yep.
How could you go, oh, she's a 10, and the people either side of you don't know about it? It doesn't make sense. As for the come and have sex with me, come and have sex with me, come and have sex with me, there we are. But this picture is just, I think it's very helpful because
I've got it up. Yeah, it's up on there.
The scene of the crime.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
everyone can see that. I put that together with some text. You can see it's 2 photos from this fan's blog. I blanked the fan out because fair enough.
Yeah, obviously. Fair enough.
But you can see for yourself exactly how that was laid out.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
this is what Lisa Graham is talking about. It all happened here,
Right there.
right there.
Right there. Yep.
So if you want to consider the credibility of what she's saying, it's good to have an accurate picture of it.
And there you go.
So I got that far, and I thought, okay, well, this is good progress. At least we can see what she's talking about. And as I said, there were extensive efforts made to find some sort of internet presence for Lisa Graham, which didn't succeed.
Yeah.
But at the same time that I was looking for her social media, I was also asking friends behind the scenes if they, especially ones which are much better informed about the convention world than I am,
Yeah.
because they're much more intimately involved with that. I was asking,
Yep.
do you know who Lisa Graham is?
Exactly.
Do you know who the supervisor is?
Yep.
And at this point, something which changed everything happened.
Right.
I had an inside source come and talk to me.
Ah. Here we go. Inside source.
Inside source, a bona fide inside source. Yeah.
Yep.
Genuine inside source. So I'm going to do a following bit. I'm going to read this direct from the article as well, because
It's best to. Yeah. Absolutely.
I want to make this very clear right from the beginning. My source will remain anonymous with regard to this article.
Absolutely.
I will point out that isn't my preference. I would rather have it on the record.
Yeah.
But it's not my call.
Exactly.
And I believe, that with the situation as it is, and with there being silence from Lisa Graham about all of this, apart from what was printed in the Guardian for 17 months now, if Lisa Graham wanted to emerge and try to stand up what she said more, perhaps that would motivate my source to put their actual identity out there. Perhaps not, but perhaps it would. But as it is, they wanted to tell their side of this, but without exposing their identity. And I would also say that for anyone who thinks that an anonymous source as a rebuttal isn't good enough, well then, therefore, neither is an anonymous source as a claim. And if someone's going to say that, they've immediately dismissed the 15 allegations by the Guardian, which I'm perfectly happy for them to do.
Right, yeah, it's fair enough. Absolutely fair enough.
My inside source of butting Lisa Graham on the basis they're anonymous, I'll just take that as fine. You're conceding that 15 Guardian allegations are not credible.
Exactly.
Dispense with that nonsense, shall we? Now, I independently verified that they are who they say they are, and that they do the job that they do.
Right.
I didn't take anything. I'm not a Muggins. I didn't take any of this for granted. I'm not here to get fed baloney. Right? I confirm their identity. I confirm that they work in the relevant industry.
Yep.
Also, the following information was relayed to me via voice call, same as we're talking now. So I was talking to a human being with their voice. I wasn't talking to emails or private messages. Because anyone could type anything, couldn't they?
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
When you're talking to somebody, you at least in the ballpark of confirming that this person is that sort of age, that sort of sex, and
absolutely.
Verifying them through industry sources. This source is real.
Yep.
Right. There's no that. Take this as a fact that the source is real. And then you can consider carefully what you think about what they have had to say. The following has had any detail that might risk identification removed.
Yep.
But otherwise gives an overall picture of what my source has to say.
Yeah.
No following is my own perspective or characterization, but me relaying the information passed on to me in a way that communicates it accurately while protecting the source's identity. And everyone, I have been very careful.
Now, just to let you know, I've actually got that up on the actual thing that you're about to talk about up on the screen right
Oh
now.
yeah, brilliant. Well, there we go. Yeah, I mean, I
There you
don't
go.
know how well that reads to people. I did do a JPEG about this section because it's so
Yeah,
important.
it's up and ready for people to read if they want to. Yeah.
Discussing that in a bit. So I'll go from the top. My source is not impressed with Lisa Graham at all.
Yep.
They consider what she has done to be very poor behaviour.
Fair enough.
My source and my source's peers, by peers I mean people they work with,
Yep.
do not believe Lisa Graham. My source has worked at the same events as Lisa Graham many times. I will not confirm or deny if my source worked at the same Bournemouth 2016 event.
Right.
Which is for obvious reasons. If I said they did, or I said they didn't, I'd be putting them in one list or another, wouldn't I?
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
My source says it's beyond belief a supervisor would brush Graham off like that and nothing would happen. My source says even in 2016, that just couldn't happen. It would be so easy to raise a hell of a stink. Who would be treated like that by a supervisor and then say nothing to any of their co-workers? And I have to say that really struck with me when my source was relaying that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That just rings completely true. You know, nobody would be treated like that and then say nothing. My source said that themselves and their peer group responded with derision when they saw Lisa Graham's allegations in the Guardian article last year. They say Lisa Graham has never said a peep of any of this to anyone until she spoke to the Guardian, and just don't believe that's credible. We're talking about a 5-year gap. A 5-year gap where Noel Clarke is supposed to be squeezing her leg under the table, trying to get her up to his hotel room to fuck her. To have sex with her, and rating women out of 10, and she never said anything to anybody.
Yeah.
Even after a supervisor had told her to sling her up, we're not interested. She never said anything to anybody. That's what you've got. If you believe Lisa Graham, you have to believe that. Sorry, back to my source.
Yeah.
So my source says they all watch each other's backs. Not that they have to, because convention workers having to fight off talent's wandering hands is basically unheard of.
Yeah.
But if anyone was treated like that, everyone would support them.
Well, of course.
My source's peer group also contains multiple individuals who have also assisted Noel Clarke at conventions. And they say it's ridiculous. Everyone knows Noel is one of the good ones, never mistreated anyone, always really nice to work with, not up himself, and they just don't believe Noel behaved this way.
There you go.
My source echoes the same points I had uncovered about the setup for re-signing events, what a complete conveyor belt it is, and how it's just too incredible to think Noel Clarke could get away with sleazing on someone like this, with hundreds of people passing right in front of him all day long and other people crammed left and right. My source says occurrences of talent mistreating convention workers are very, very rare. Without imparting any gossip about any individual, my source confirmed it almost never happens. If it did, word would spread like wildfire, no one would try to cover it up, and that person would be off the circuit.
Gone.
Shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
They
Gone.
know who they are.
Yep.
And all the time my source has been working in this area, they do not know anyone with a negative story to tell about Noel Clarke until Lisa Graham popped up in The Guardian talking about something she'd kept completely to herself for 5 years. My source says Lisa Graham is lying.
Boom. Absolute mic drop. There you go. Absolute mic drop.
I really want to know, what did chat make of that?
Yeah. Come on, chat. What do you think of that?
We're out for time here. We've got time. So
yeah, we've got time.
What does chat make of that? Do they think that basically, is a body blow against Lisa Graham's claims? Do they find the anonymous source credible? I really want to know. What do you think, Bryce?
Yeah, I mean, we'll wait and see if anyone says anything. But I mean, for me, that says it all, doesn't it? Let's be brutally honest. It's that that claim she made has been completely and utterly destroyed, in my opinion. It's it literally is an extreme mic drop moment that people just don't believe what's being said, and if they don't believe
It's
that,
a it's,
why
it's,
can't
it's
yeah
a person who knows who Lisa Graham is and who
yeah
has worked with Lisa Graham, also representing other people who have know who Lisa Graham is and have worked with Lisa Graham, who are also people who have done exactly what she did and who've helped Noel Clarke specifically at
yeah
conventions.
exactly
So if that isn't a credible counter, when all there is to Lisa Graham's accusations of what was put in the Guardian last year,
and nothing else. Yeah,
what would be, what would be? So, yeah, I mean, I think this is ever so important because this is the first time that anyone has gone on the record to directly refute one of the Guardian accusers.
yeah,
Thank you, Classic Fanboy. Your source is spot on. Yeah, well, look, I spoke to them, so I'm certainly find them very credible.
yeah, exactly.
Obviously, I need to protect them, which I am doing.
Well, of course,
I'm trying
absolutely.
to relay how much they impressed me to you, while protecting them, because to get across just how seismic this is,
It's huge.
and,
It
and
is. It is huge.
how big a challenge this actually is now for Doctor Who fandom.
Yeah, it's a massive
Are
thing.
we going? Are we going to let this stand, or are we, as Justice for Noel Clarke supporters, yes, as Noel Clarke fans, yes, but as Doctor Who fans, especially Doctor Who fans who so far have stayed on the fence on this,
Yep.
when the Guardians published an article accusing Noel Clarke of wrongdoings in the world of Doctor Who, and one of their star witnesses is being knocked over so easily,
Very
how
easily.
how can you ignore that?
Yeah. How can you see that? I mean, it was literally what she said is gone. It's literally a nothing, and to turn around and say that she's lying, really? Can you still continue to sit on the fence? Can you still continue to pretend that there isn't something massively wrong there?
Well, I agree with you, Noel. Yes, it would, but then the media is not offering that opportunity, are they?
No, and
And
well, and
that's why
yeah,
we're here.
exactly,
If the media was willing to give that story proper space, we probably wouldn't be here. But we are, because the media is not doing its job. That's why Justice Noel Clarke is happening.
exactly. I mean, the media. It's quite obviously either the media want to sweep this under the carpet or pretend it never happened because it shows them in a very bad light, and they're not
Uh,
going to, you
Definitely
know.
don't. They don't want to have to rehash this.
No,
They
they don't.
definitely
They don't,
not,
and it
because it doesn't look good for any of them.
no, and for a group of people on, social media to be able to rip it apart fairly easily, to be brutally honest, doesn't put them in a very good light at all. So they're not going to be
Just have
prepared.
to be willing to ask questions. Yeah.
Exactly. That's all we need. That's all. I mean, all we're doing is saying, please answer these questions that we want answered.
But
They're
the thing
simple
is,
questions.
if I said, okay, I don't know what I feel about Virginia Guthrie's accusations against Prince Andrew, right? I'm going
Exactly.
to look into it more. I'm going to ask questions, right? If I ask questions of that story, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find, what, Prince Andrew looks like a real dodgy geezer,
Yeah.
because that's the way the evidence goes.
Exactly.
But with this,
Exactly.
I ask questions and the story melts away,
It
and
just, yeah,
it's like evaporating mist. You're left with nothing.
yeah,
You
and
have
they're
not a
refusing.
single accusation proved. Not one.
No, and then they won't.
And then we've got rubbish like this. this Lisa Graham story.
which has been destroyed, which has just been destroyed.
It has been destroyed, and every Doctor Who fan needs to know about it, which I think brings us to a good time to talk about fandom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I do a whole section in the article called the Eye of Disharmony.
Ah, very good.
Well done. It's well
Well
done.
done.
Yeah, good fan reference there.
Indeed.
Just trying to ask the questions of what this means for fandom, basically.
Yeah.
And what I want to recognise in this is that there are very few and far between of us, very few, who've been staunchly, noisily on Noel Clarke's side since day one. Almost none of us. Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most of us either sat on the fence with good reason, because we didn't want to pass judgment and wanted to see what came out, but we were aloof. We were sat on the fence seeing what happened, and I definitely count myself as one of those people.
Yeah.
Or we were getting stuck in, putting in as hard as we could.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, for Doctor Who fandom, when we look back now at the conversations that happened in fandom, especially in May last year, before people tried to forget about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good.
No.
It really doesn't look good. And I can understand why Noel seems to have become so hurt by fandom.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can understand.
I mean, I think there's some signs of that starting to repair, but I don't think that's going to be easy.
No.
And one of the things I want to challenge Doctor Who fandom about is, if you now feel that you were too hasty in condemning Noel Clarke last year, if you feel that you've done a bit of injustice and the press maybe stitched you up a bit, and maybe you even feel that maybe you should have thought about it a bit more at a time, it's not too late to do something positive about that.
No, never. It's never too late.
I'm absolutely sure that every time somebody goes onto Noel Clarke's Twitter and says, "Hey Noel, I just wanted to know, I've totally changed my mind, and I'm really sorry I judged you harshly last year," I'm pretty sure that every single message like that means a lot to Noel Clarke.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, it would. Let's be honest. If it was happening to us, that would make us feel good.
I also want Doctor Who fandom to stand up for your peers and say, you know what, this wasn't right, and I got this wrong.
Yeah.
Gobby, it's interesting because I don't particularly believe in giving our detractors energy.
No, absolutely.
I do want to say that probably one of our most seriously triggered detractors who've gone on some of the rampage.
Indeed, yes.
Their first posts slamming us, made pretty much the day that the first article came out, got some pretty healthy engagement.
Yeah.
I'm looking 20-ish retweets, 60-ish likes.
Yeah.
So a pretty fair amount of people from that part of fandom were going, it's that John White, he's that disgusting bloke. You don't want to listen to anything what he says, and all of that.
Yeah. We know. Yeah.
They're still at it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
With a disgusting hashtag, frankly. But they're still
indeed.
Guess what? Now their engagement is crickets. Nothing. And some of their friends are saying, do you think you might be overdoing it a bit?
Yeah.
So indeed. You tell me if that isn't evidence of a sea change in Doctor Who fandom just over the last month.
Indeed.
Suddenly it's no longer the automatic thing just to like something slamming Noel Clarke. It's like, maybe I'm not entirely sure. The more that doubt grows, the more the chances for the other side of the story to actually get a fair chance, because it requires that doubt for people to be willing to listen to new information, to provide them with the opportunity to make a different choice about what we think about something.
Exactly.
So that doubt and the growth of that doubt, I think, is one of the major signs that we're having an impact and we're having great success. But we've still got a lot further to go.
Oh yeah, a
And
long way.
there are a lot of voices in Doctor Who fandom or the Doctor Who convention world who, well, they need a little bit of encouragement.
Yes, they do. They do.
They
They
do
need.
need a little bit of encouragement. So there are people that we want to go and find and ask them if they think they were too hasty, if they think that some of the information we've come out with since revises that, especially the Lisa Graham source refuting Lisa Graham,
Yeah, indeed.
whether that's there as a JPEG for everyone to be able to easily use.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
but also, I want to challenge everybody listening to this. Now, if you're like me, you're mostly blocked from everything Doctor Who anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But I know that there are some of you who are not blocked everywhere. And I also know that Doctor Who fandom as a community has got lots and lots and lots of little rooms.
Yeah,
I'm especially thinking of groups on Facebook, which
yeah,
are either hidden from view altogether, or that you have to pass some sort of ideological purity test just to get into.
yeah,
And some of them are rather big. But
yeah.
the way that those groups are moderated is also rather severe. Meaning, if you dare say anything anti-Chibnall, you're gone.
Oh, that's it. You're dead. You're finished.
But those are the places that need to hear this.
Yeah,
The more absolute and rigid the thinking, the more they need exposing to the alternative.
indeed.
So, yes, share the tweets from Justice for Noel C. Yeah, of course, do that.
Of course.
But like I said in the first article, and by the way, it had a huge impact. Just take the link from WordPress, make a fresh post of your own, and get it out there. Or in the case of these groups, get it in there, get it up there, get it
Yep,
seen. Because we must break this beyond our own personal fandom echo chambers.
yep,
And in order to do that, we must push ourselves to go outside of our comfort zones and to go and try and find places where this can do the most good by having the most impact.
yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely,
even even
absolutely.
if even if it might put your membership of that group at risk.
Yeah,
That if you want to challenge yourself, and Doctor Who fandom wants to challenge itself to do as much as it can to put this right, because this actually what this is something that needs putting right,
it certainly does.
then
It
that
certainly does.
is a very positive action that you can do, as well as, of course, go and tell Noel Clarke on Twitter, respond to one of your tweets, and let him know if you've changed your mind about him in the past 17 months, because that
Yeah,
also
because it'll
means a
help.
lot.
It'll help. It really will help.
Yeah.
I'm sure he will be over the moon with messages of support because he's been through it, and the least you could do is just say I've changed my mind, and that will make a lot. That will make a big difference. It really will. I'm sure it will. It would make a big difference to me if I was in his shoes. Let's put it that way. It really would.
Every little helps, and it's an act of human solidarity and compassion.
Yeah,
And it just doesn't.
absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with saying I got that wrong.
No, exactly.
What's worse is getting it wrong, but being too much of a too afraid
Yeah,
to question your own thoughts.
yeah.
And I must say I think it's somewhat sad that someone
It
could
is.
take what we put in one newspaper article well over a year ago and then say this was never ever be questioned ever.
Yeah, make
Are
it
you,
the
are you
gospel.
seriously? Are you joking? If it had gone somewhere, it would be a totally different story. But it hasn't, and there's
No,
no way. There's no way that we can accept that.
no,
We can't do that.
we can't. We just can't.
Not if we care about Noel Clarke at all.
No.
Member of our Doctor Who family, which I really do care. And
Yeah.
I know everyone listening to this cares, but
Yeah.
we've got to draw a line.
Yeah, and it's there. It's just, it's in the end of it. Even if you don't particularly like Noel Clarke, it's a human being. Does any human being deserve to go through this? Really? Because I don't think it does, and I think it needs to be
You know
addressed.
what? Even if somebody is a bad person who really has done bad things, right?
Yeah,
They still need due process.
exactly,
They
exactly,
still need the things which are said against them to be proven to be true
exactly.
beyond a benefit of the doubt, as the
Yep,
legal
beyond
phrase goes. Yeah.
exactly.
So even if you felt Noel Clarke was in some way a bad person, right? He still deserves better treatment than what he's got. But the fact that nothing is actually saying that Noel is a bad person is even more damning, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more damning and more painful for him himself, I would imagine. You
Which I
know,
think brings this back to where it started. I started as a Noel Clarke fan, saying this isn't on. I'm gonna look into this. I'm gonna find out what's going on myself because nobody else is telling this. And
yeah,
now here we are, 24,000 words later. God, I never want to type the word guardian accusation ever again. You know,
yeah, yeah. I can imagine. I can imagine.
uh, yeah. How many ways can I try and make that interesting? God, blimey. But I've done a thorough job. I've done a careful job, and I think this second article really is the capstone of the first.
Oh God, yeah,
Because the
absolutely.
Doctor Who allegations are so clearly flimsy, and where it looks very seriously like one of these allegations has been completely knocked over,
Yeah,
it does speak to the credibility of the rest of it.
of course it does. Of course it
And
does.
I think that all those who thought that we were going to get away with this without ever being challenged on what they said or claimed should think again.
Indeed.
Uh, should get the message that rather than a flash in the pan, we've been around for a month now, and the strides
Yeah,
we've made and the breakthroughs we've made with getting
indeed.
inside to talk to me, it's enormous, and they
Yeah,
should all be nervous. They should all be nervous. They
yeah,
should all be nervous that all of this is going to come back at them. And you know what? Best thing to do, anyone like that, listen to this. Best thing to do, get ahead of it, make a clean breast of it, make a confession now.
yeah. Absolutely.
Do the right thing now, and maybe you might be thought of better than some of your fellow co-accusers.
Exactly. Exactly. Absolutely right. Be on the right side of history for a change. That would be the best way to do it
Well,
because
I
it's
think
coming.
we're there. I think we're there, Gobby. We're covered. We're good.
Yes, we've done really, really well. We've had
Far as less of it than the first time around, so we actually got a fighting
yeah,
chance to get through material. So it's okay, everybody. It's only 7,000 words this time, not 16,000.
yeah, yeah,
But there is, of course, one more article to come.
yeah.
Um, I can't say when because I'm still wrangling with some parts of it. But this is,
Right.
of course, an article on BAFTA.
Oh yes,
Uh,
good old
but
BAFTA.
I think it'll be nice in a way to write it because it won't be me writing about a bunch of people making accusations against Noel. It'll be me writing about how badly Noel's been treated.
Yes, indeed. Yes, it's a slightly
Uh,
it's a much different take on things.
so I've got a working title in my head called "Battered by BAFTA." Whether that is what I
Mm.
finally end up with, I think it's about spot on. Battered by BAFTA.
Yeah, because that's
Uh,
exactly what happened. That's exactly
and of
what
course,
happened.
now that Noel has dropped legal action against BAFTA for reasons which we are hoping to have clarified soon,
Yeah,
um, well, all the more reason to have happen, really, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know that.
So let's see where that goes. But I don't have a date for that. I'm not going to commit to getting that out by this time next month because it will need to be correct.
Yeah,
But there
absolutely.
is there is a third part coming which will finish this up. And at that point, I would probably go, right then, fandom, if that wasn't enough for me, I don't know what else you could possibly
Oh
expect.
yeah, exactly,
Uh,
exactly.
you buggers go do something
Yeah, yeah. Go
because that's
press
what
the
it's
word.
about.
Go spread the
UK decent.
word. Yeah.
Anything else in the chat before we call this a live stream?
No. It's gone quiet in the chat now. We've had 29 views so far, and only one dislike. Only one dislike.
Only the one.
Only the
I
one.
wonder who could have done that.
Oh, I wonder who it could possibly be. Not hard, really, is it?
It's been a pleasure once again, Gobby.
It's been fantastic, mate. Absolutely fantastic. And hopefully people have listened, and hopefully people will now start pushing the message further afield and start getting into, as you said, those closed groups, because, you know, I know a lot of people are sort of perhaps scared of the reputation. I've said it many times that this is the hill I'm prepared to die on, because I will not have an injustice on a fellow human being done like this. And I will not sit idly by and allow clearly an innocent man to have his life destroyed in such a way based on, let's be honest, an article that means nothing. It's been so easily picked apart. It's embarrassing. And those two journalists should be truly embarrassed by what they wrote, you know. So it's
embarrassment doesn't even slightly cover it.
It really doesn't, does it? It really doesn't.
Ashamed to claim to be part of a profession.
Exactly. So, but no, it's. I hope that people have listened. I know this will probably get some more views when it comes back up on YouTube. I'd like to say thank you to all those people who were in the chat, and those who did pop in and out. I know the viewing figures went up and down, but we've had a steady sort of 6 to 8 as we've gone through. It's dropped down to 4 now, but that's absolutely fine. So it'll be fantastic. It's been great.
Right. Well, thank you, Gobby. Until the next time.
Indeed.
Thank you, chat. Thank you, everybody, and I will see you all over on the TARDIS Zone at 8 o'clock.
I've had a banner running at the bottom to make sure everybody knows that. Don't forget to pop over to 8 p.m. To the TARDIS Zone with Noel, where John will be going back over this again, which is fantastic, because the more we can get it out, the better. And
absolutely.
Let's spread the word, and let's, you know, hashtag justice for Noel Clarke, indeed. So with that,
thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks very much. Until next time, see you later. Bye-bye. And